In this session, I'll be demonstrating how an administrator creates a user with a temporary system-generated password. I'll be showing an administrator logging into their XSpectra Administrative Console, selecting the Create User with Generated Password task, entering the new user's profile information, and submitting the form. I'll also be showing an end user receiving the email notifications from XSpectra with their username and temporary password, an end user logging in for the first time, entering a new password, selecting and entering responses to their security questions, and submitting the changes. For an administrator to create a user with a temporary password, the user would first log into their XSpectra User Console, enter their username and password, and be logged into their administrative console in XSpectra. The administrator would then select on their users tasks, expand the Manage Users menu, and select the Create User with Generated Password. So we'll select that task. The administrator is now asked if they want to create a new user or create a copy of a current user. So for this demonstration, I'll be creating a new user. So they'll click OK. On this page, the administrator is asked to enter in the user's profile information. So everything that's noted with a red asterisk is a required field that must be entered for this user to be created. Any of the other fields can be added at a later date. So I'll skip ahead and fill out this information. So once all required fields have been entered, again, any of the additional fields below can be entered at a later time, but for the presentation, we'll be leaving them blank. So after all required fields have been entered, the administrator clicks Next to select groups to assign this user to. So we'll select a group. We're going to add the Enterprise Account Administrators group. They can choose whether this user will just be a member of the group or also an administrator, meaning they can add other members to this group at a later date. So once all group configurations have been completed, the administrator will click Finish. Now, XSpectra will be generating two email notifications, the first with the user's username and the second with the user's temporary password. Now, the administrator also receives the temporary password in case the user's email is not configured correctly or the user had forgotten their password. So now we'll go to the user's email and show you the two emails that they had received from XSpectra. So we've logged into the user's email. And you can see that there are two emails from XSpectra. The first email welcoming the user to XSpectra with their username and notification that the temporary password will be sent in a separate email. The second email is that temporary password. You can see the temporary password is an alphanumeric, uppercase and lowercase password. We'll copy that. And there's also a link back to the login page. So we'll click the link, and we've landed back upon the XSpectra login page. We're going to enter in the new user's username and his temporary password. So since this is a temporary password, upon his first login, he will be asked to enter in a new password and to fill out some security questions and responses. So I'll enter a new password. You can see that there's a password strength meter on the side that checks how strong the password is, and this is configurable based upon your organization's password policy settings in XSpectra. There's also the security questions and answers. Now, all of these questions can be added to or removed at any time by an administrator. So I'll select some of these security questions. Now these security questions go with responses that only the user should know. So I'll enter in these responses now. Now once all responses to the security questions have been entered and the new password has been entered, the new user would then submit these changes. So we'll receive a notification from XSpectra that the tasks have been completed. And once clicking OK, we're redirected into the user's console page. Now from my previous session, you'll notice that this new user has more access than a basic user. That's because I've added this user into the Enterprise Account Administrators group, which gives this user a fairly strong account to perform advanced user management tasks. And that is how an administrator creates a user with a temporary password. To review what I've demonstrated, I've shown an administrator logged into their XSpectra Administrative Console, selected the Create User with Generated Password task, entered the new user's profile information, and submitted the form. I've also shown an end user received the email notifications from XSpectra with their username and temporary password. An end user logged in for the first time, entered a new password, selected and entered the responses to their security questions, and submitted the changes. And that is how an administrator creates a user with a temporary system-generated password in XSpectra.